All right, let's do Unit 4 quiz material known as review number 5 today. And hopefully you can watch this and practice and do well for your next quiz. Again, those are my review tips. They are the same every time. Just do these activities as soon as you watch these videos. So we're looking at 1450 to 1770 roughly, but we're looking really at what's going on in Mesoamerica, a little bit about the Ming Dynasty, what the Ottomans are doing as they take over Constantinople in 1453, European exploration, the God, the glory, the gold, and European absolutism, which exploration feeds these absolute monarchs in the European countries. Here's a DBQ. You can see that it talks about choosing two technological advancements. You explain how the advancements affected the interactions and discuss how this change resulted from these interactions. It's less about what the technology is and more about what the technology does in terms of an impact. So you can choose the bow and the stirrup by the Mongols, the caravel, which is those small ships by the Spanish, or the use of the railroad in India. This is a thematic technological essay, and this is the one that you will block on your homework. Choose two technological innovations, describe the existing technology, how it was replaced by this new technology, what they did before, and discuss the effects. Look at your choices. Aqueducts, gunpowder, printing press, caravel, steam engine, factory system, nuclear power, and internet communications. Be careful, because a lot of times people are very general on these kinds of essays and they don't do well. You want to be as specific as possible with events, vocabulary, people, impacts. Let's look at Mesoamerica. When we're talking about Mesoamerica, we're talking about the Mayans and the Aztecs, and then in South America, you're talking about the Incas. So Mesoamerica is also known as Central America. So the Mayans, of course, on this area of the Yucatan Peninsula in green here, farming, trade, architecture, calendar. The Aztecs, the conquest, the calendar. This is Montezuma. This is Hernan Cortez, the European, coming and conquering the Aztecs, not because he had more people, but because he had better technology and because of the spread of disease. Remember, the Incas live in the Andes Mountains in South America, and they build extensive roads. They adapt to their geography through terrace farming, trade, and great feats of engineering in all of these civilizations, as you can see in the pyramids and such. In the Ming Dynasty, you have exploration happening through the explorer Admiral Young He. And you can see he traveled from China here through the Pacific Ocean to the East Indies, to India, to Somalia, and the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. Remember that the Chinese thought of themselves as the Middle Kingdom. They didn't see themselves as needing others. However, Young He's journey allows him to collect tribute, which is the money that he could take back to the Chinese Ming Dynasty. Note, too, that the civil service system is part of the Ming Dynasty, and that is a Confucius belief that Confucius said that people should get their jobs based on merit or on what they know, not who they know. The Ming Dynasty is also considered a golden age where Confucian scholars are honored and where prosperity and achievements, of course, because it's a golden age, abound. The problem is that when Young He dies, the Ming Dynasty does not explore anymore. We know that is a possibility if the Ming had gone this way, a little more to the east, they would have found California. And we could be speaking Chinese and be very different in our experience. The Ottoman Empire is also very important during this time. In 1453, the city of Constantinople becomes Istanbul as the Ottoman Turks start to take over the last vestiges of the Byzantine Empire. The Ottomans will expand through military technology, and most importantly, they will disrupt the European trade routes. And that is one of the major reasons why the Europeans will go west to try to get east and find the New World. Suleiman the Magnificent is the great lawgiver at this time. He promotes stability. This is the golden age of the Ottoman Turks, and of course, Islam is the faith. European exploration comes out of this. God, glory, and gold, especially gold. Columbus sails the ocean blue in 1492 and leads to that Columbian exchange. Technology, the printing press is so important. Johann Gutenberg's printing press will be able to share ideas. Of course, the Bible is printed the most. Gunpowder from the Chinese is going to be in these new guns, and these guns will allow the Europeans to have a small number of men conquer a large number of men only because of this military superiority. Cartography is map making, so they have more accurate maps, and the astrolabe the Europeans get from the Muslims, and that helps them navigate correctly. Of course, unfortunately, this also causes the slave trade in this horrible middle passage that the slaves had to endure. The Spanish set up the encomienda system, and all of the European powers practice mercantilism. This is a picture of the Columbian Exchange. Okay, you can see it is literally an exchange of goods. Notice what the Europeans are bringing to the New World and what the New World natives are giving to the Europeans. This is examples of mercantilism. You got the mother country. She's getting gold and silver from the colonies. She's getting food from the colonies. She's getting raw materials from the colonies. She's benefiting. She's being served. Here's another way of looking at it. The mother country's treasury gets filled with gold and silver, and the balance of trade is favorable to the mother country. The mother country gets gold, silver, fur, lumber, food from the colonies, and she makes manufactured goods. Mother country always gets fat. Mercantilism feeds absolutism. In Spain, we have Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, and then Philip II. In France, Louis XIV in his Palace of Versailles building. In Russia, Peter the Great and how he modernizes and westernizes. And in England, although they're a little different, James I, Charles I, the Civil War, and their great empire that starts. And finally, we'll get the British Empire where the sun never sets. Let's practice. One way in which the civilization of the Sumerians, the Phoenicians, and the Mayans were similar, and that they all, this is a throwback question, right? You've seen this before. But look at, they're adding the Mayans here, even though they come much later than the Sumerians and the Phoenicians. What they're doing is they're saying, what characteristic of civilization do they all have? 2, 3, and 4 are not characterizations of all civilizations, but choice number 1 is developed extensive writing systems. An effect of a mountainous topography on Incan and Chinese civilization was the development of, what are you looking for? Industrialization, single crop economy, desalination, or terrace farming. Bingo, terrace farming. An observation that can be made about the Ottoman Empire in the 1400s and the 1500s is that the empire, did it originate in Hungary, have a strategic location between Europe and Asia, was totally landlocked, or had control over most of Western Europe? The answer, of course, is location, location, location. Constantinople becomes Istanbul. Which was the characteristic of Western European nations that most enabled them to establish colonies in Asia and Africa? Was it a rigid social class structure, self-sufficiency in natural resources, frequent political revolutions, or advanced technology? If you pick 4, you remember that I said the Europeans got gunpowder, that they put in these new guns, and they got gunpowder from the Chinese, and they used it to overcome a lot of obstacles by using fear and death. One reason the Spanish conquistadors were able to conquer the Aztec and Inca empires rapidly is that these empires had no standing armies. The Spanish had better weapons than the Aztecs and Incas did. The Spanish greatly outnumbered the Aztecs and Incas, or the Aztecs and Incas joined together to fight the Spanish. Of course, the answer is 2, better weapons. In Latin America, during the early period of the Spanish colonialism, the deaths of large numbers of native people led to a decline in Spanish immigration to the Americas, the removal of most Spanish troops from the Americas, the importation of slaves from Africa, or improved health care in the colonies. The answer is the importation of slaves. According to the theory of mercantilism, colonies should be acquired as markets and sources of raw materials, considered an economic burden to the colonial power, granted independence as soon as possible, encouraged to develop their own industries. Markets and raw materials. It's a common theme. In English history, the Magna Carta and the Bill of Rights were both reinforced by the concept of a limited monarchy, religious toleration, a laissez-faire economy, or universal suffrage. Remember, suffrage means voting. Remember your flashcard that England is different. England has a limited monarchy. During the Age of Absolutism, European monarchies sought to increase human rights for their citizens, centralize their political power in their nations, develop better relations with Muslim rulers, or encourage the growth of cooperative farms. The answer is 2, centralize. And a great example is Louis XIV centralizing his power at the Palace of Versailles. Okay, so that should give you some practice with your homework. Block that essay. See you in class.